welcome to the BP Mindcast. I'm Jonathan Bartlett, your host. These podcasts cover a wide variety of topics from a conservative academic viewpoint. Some you'll find interesting, some you won't. Hopefully I plan on keeping these short enough that you can easily enjoy what you like, and hopefully I won't keep you too long for those that you don't. Today we're going to continue this discussion from last time, which is about mathematics. And I specifically, one of the things that the people who are kind of pushing against mathematics want to do is they want to get rid of the term STEM, like STEM topics, so which stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And I actually really like that term, and I understand a little bit of the argument against it. And so I'll lay out a little bit of what the argument against it is, and that is that right now there's a promotion of STEM topics as if they were the epitome of education. That is, we should set aside all other education to focus on STEM if we need to. That everything else is sacrificable to STEM. And for that, I actually agree that STEM is not the be-all and end-all of education. However, some people have tried to introduce the term STEAM. And so that is basically adding an A for arts in the middle of it. And I really disagree with this. The reason why we have the term STEM is not that the science and engineering and mathematics disciplines are more important, but that they are all actually heavily intertwined, especially as they are taught. Now, it is true that a lot of them like one thing that the critics of STEM will say is that, well, we actually use a lot of art when we do technology, and we use a lot of our skills from arts when in technological companies and stuff like that. And that's absolutely true. But as disciplines, the STEM subjects are grouped together because they have very similar feels. They're all extremely high on the logical end. They all heavily utilize mathematics, and the type of thinking for them are all actually pretty similar. It's actually not too hard to take someone who's in engineering and pull them into science. It's not hard to take someone in science and pull them into mathematics. In fact, a lot of the people who do mathematics wind up being physicists. There's mathematical physicists. And there's engineers. Most of the people who have the highest training in mathematics who aren't mathematicians are probably the engineers. And so you have the reason why these STEM topics are all grouped together is because of the overlap between them. And so they're grouped together for a reason, and I really don't like it when people take natural groupings and they're like, oh, well, we don't like the way that this looks, so we're just going to mash it up with something else. Well, they naturally group together, and so trying to artificially pull something else in, I think is it's bad for public reasoning, because we can talk about the STEM subjects as a group and make coherent statements about them. We can't talk about the STEAM subjects as a group and make coherent statements about them because the A is very different. Again, I'm not arguing it's unimportant. I'm just saying it's very different. And so saying that we need to start referring to STEAM instead of STEM, I think is counterproductive. Now, what we do need to do is make more effort into teaching the other subjects. I absolutely agree with that. I just don't think that I think that trying to integrate that into these other topics is confusing to the whole notion of education. Now, then there's another question about cross-discipline. Should we have cross-discipline efforts? Absolutely. But some of that, a lot of times people will say, let's do cross-discipline efforts. Well, in order to do cross-discipline efforts, you first have to do the discipline efforts. So that is, we can't mix technology and art until we learn technology and we learn art. And sometimes we view these subjects, we forget that the pupils themselves haven't learned this stuff. And so first you have to teach it. Then you can teach how to integrate it. And so should we do more of that? I'm sure we should. There's a limited amount of time. I don't know exactly where we're going to fit it all. But should we carefully examine where some of these subjects maybe spend the last um, 2 months of a course doing integrational topics. So that way, reorganize the courses, pull out some of the material that may be extraneous, and say, okay, we're going to condense this course. Um, if we had a year-long course in something, maybe we'll spend the last 2 months doing integration work, where we're going to take the people who excel in math and take the people who excel in art. And we're going to say, and the people who excel in rhetoric or some other aspect, and say, okay, let's get these people together and see what they can do together and have integrational projects. I think that would be fantastic. But first, before you get there, you have to teach the discipline itself. And so, one thing that I thought was funny in Hacker's book, I think it was, on the math myth, he talked about, in some classes, um, you learn, what the different values of coins are and how to add them and how to make change and stuff like that. And so he said a more kind of artistic view would say, okay, well, I have 45 cents in my pocket. What sort of coins might I have? Well, that's a good question. But the fact is that you can't do that question until you learn how the change works, until you learn how to do the basics of doing the what value coins are, how to add them, subtract them. Until you can do the basic procedures, you can't do the higher level procedures. And that's, a lot of people are trying to throw people into these higher level procedures without the core training, and then they wind up not being able to do either one very well. And so you still need to do your core disciplines. You need to teach them as core disciplines, because that's where the training comes from. Should you do integration work? Absolutely, but it shouldn't. We shouldn't view that as taking the place of our foundational work, and we shouldn't try to arbitrarily shove uh, different subjects together just for in fairness' sake, or because you think somebody's getting short shrift. We should look at our education in a logical, methodological fashion, and that's where STEM comes from. It comes from the fact that people have done that and recognize that these disciplines belong together. I hope you enjoyed your time on BP Mindcast. Until next time, keep thinking.